once the core is done and you kind of begin your singles runs, were you kind of, by the time the core finished, did you have a lot of ideas for what your singles run should be, and how creatively involved were you able to be?
Yeah, I mean, I was constantly pitching ideas to WWE at that point about character tweaks I wanted to do and directions I wanted to go in. The problem was that at that point, they had a couple of guys that they were going with in the kind of heel category. I think one of them was Sheamus. One of them was a fairly newly debuted Alberto Del Rio. The other was Miz. Those were kind of the three guys that they were pushing at that point. And the problem is when you have those kind of guys that they are committed to going with, the opportunities to get into those exciting spots as a heel was very difficult. And I was often used at that point as a guy who would say Edge was fighting Alberto Del Rio at the pay-per-view. The guy that Edge would beat right before the pay-per-view to make himself look good would be me. Or let's say Rey Mysterio was fighting Sheamus. Rey would beat me right before his pay-per-view match with Sheamus. So I was kind of put in that category for a little while at that point, which after the cool run that I'd been on with Nexus and even a little bit of Core at times, it was a real step down for me, and I was pretty disappointed during that run, yeah.
But one of the things that you came up with, which was cool, was the kind of underground fighting videos of the Barrett barrage and you sort of bare knuckle fighting and stuff like that. How much of that stuff were you involved with in getting that to go on air? Because that seemed like there was more focus on you at that point, and it seemed like that was potentially going to go somewhere.
Yeah, so Triple H, he pulled me into his office and said, hey, he was starting to get a little more power at that point, and I could tell the transfer of power from Vince to Triple H was starting to happen around that period, and Triple H was starting to sit in more in Gorilla and have the headsets on and get into all the meetings and stuff like that. So it's been a very slow process to get Triple H to where he's at now. It's been a very slow handover from Vince, where he's now fully integrated. He's making a huge percentage of the decisions up there these days. But at that point, he was really kind of dipping his toe in the water, and Vince would say, okay, take Barrett and figure out some sort of some ideas to send him on his way and get him back up the card or something like that. So he contacted me and was like, he brought me into his office and talked to me about, hey, what do you want to do? How do we make some vignettes to make you look cool? We want to do something with you. Have you got any ideas? So I came up with this idea of like the Fight Club kind of thing and shooting some cool vignettes and stuff like that, which was great. And he loved them. And he's a pretty old school guy about that stuff. And he thought it was, this is tough. This is exactly what the business needs. So we went away and shot these and produced these great vignettes. The problem I felt was that once we shot these vignettes, they ran for 3 or 4 weeks. I kind of came back and didn't really do anything after that. I think I was fighting Yoshitatsu, and no disrespect to Yoshitatsu, but he was low on the card at that time, Tyson Kidd, Trent Beretta, and I was kind of working with guys like that a lot, and eventually I think I worked with Sheamus, and Sheamus was just beating me up all the time after that. So it's one thing to have a cool gimmick and a cool vignette and a cool kind of backstory, but when the story you're showing in the ring is that, okay, I can beat the lower card guys, but as soon as I get near anyone in the upper echelons of the card, they're just going to beat me up. It's very difficult to get any buy-in with stuff like that. And a lot of the times, people like to say wins and losses don't matter. And they only ever say that to you when you're losing. Because believe me, wins and losses matter. And if a guy loses all the time, it's very difficult for the crowd to ever buy into them. So I kind of went on a bit of a losing streak at that point, which was rough times for sure.
And then, you talk about the company had their own heels that they were pushing, guys like Miz and Sheamus, etc. But there was also the return of Brock Lesnar in 2012. And I'm glad I'm asking this question now. So Brock Lesnar's like an enigma. Nobody really talks much about him. We don't really hear much about what he's like behind the scenes. So I'm just curious, like when Brock Lesnar came back and he's one of the top heels in the show, working with Cena and Triple H, is he interacting with you guys backstage? Is he part of the sort of the boys, or is he very sort of separated?
Well, Brock is on a very special contract that almost never happens in wrestling, where he wrestles a very limited number of dates per year. I think his original contract was something like 12 appearances per year, of which 2 of them would be wrestling or something like that. So Brock really wasn't around very much when he first came back, but everyone was very excited when he was there because as soon as he walked out, the atmosphere was electric. People were going insane. It's Brock Lesnar, the UFC champion, the former multiple-time WWE champion. This guy's legit. So it was amazing. It was a great atmosphere whenever he was back. But he wouldn't really come and hang out in the locker room or anything like that. On the rare occasion that he was booked for the show, he would I mean, we all generally had a call time of 2 o'clock if it was Central Time Zone, because there's different time zones in America. Sometimes we'd have to get there at 1. Sometimes we'd have to get there at midday if it was on the West Coast. So we'd be there pretty early in the day while they kind of put the show together, and they like to have us all at the arena so they know where we're at and no one's going to turn up late. Brock kind of turns up when he wants, and I don't know if that's in his contract or if it's just because, well, I'm not going to tell him he has to turn up at 2 like everyone else, and I don't think anyone else is going to say anything to him. So Brock kind of turns up when he wants. So he really didn't spend too much time around the guys like that, and when he did get to the arena, they had a luxury bus parked in the car park for him where he'd spend most of his time, and then he'd kind of leave his bus, and 30 minutes before his match, he'd turn up in the arena and then go out, do his thing, get back on his bus and leave. So you really wouldn't see that much of him. But there was one time in particular, I can't remember where we were. I think we were in Texas. We were at like a Gold's Gym before a show. So this is, maybe like 11 in the morning. A bunch of us just go to find a local gym before we have to get to the show. So we get in the Gold's Gym. I think I'm there. Heath Slater's there. Cody might have been there. Probably Bray Wyatt was there. Fandango, kind of guys that I hung out with. We were all just coincidentally working out at this Gold's Gym. And probably about 30 minutes before we need to go to the arena, we end up going into the showers and the locker room and kind of getting ourselves ready to put on our business casual and go to the arena and look like stars like we had to do. Because we weren't allowed to go in our gym gear. We had to dress nicely. But just before we go to the locker room to kind of get ready to leave, Brock Lesnar walks into the gym. Now, this is the only time I've ever seen Brock walk into a gym because, like I say, he's not on the road that often. I'm sure when he's at home, he's working out more and whatever. So you never really see Brock. But when he walks in, everybody in this gym just stops what they're doing and stares at this monster of a man who walks in. Because you either know him from wrestling or you know him from UFC or you just look at this guy and, what is that? And, this is a gym. There's a lot of big guys in the gym, but nobody looks like Brock. It doesn't matter what they're doing, how long they've been working out for, what they're taking. Nobody looks like Brock. So everyone just stops what they're doing and stares at it. Anyway, we quick nod to Brock or whatever, and we go and head off to clean up and get our stuff on to go to the show. And about 15 minutes later, while we're kind of putting our suits on or whatever, Brock suddenly walks into the changing room. And like I say, there's 6 or 7 of us getting dressed at this point, and Brock looks furious. He says, "Hey, there's this kid who keeps following me around everything I get on. He sits next to me and starts working out. He's just following me everywhere. What is up with this guy?" Well, okay, cool, Brock. And we can tell he's angry, and he just walks off into the little bathroom section at that point. About 10 seconds later, this 16-year-old kid sneaks into the locker room. And he follows, and he walks past us all and goes into the bathroom section. And we all just look at each other. And all you hear is, "Are you trying to see my penis?" Followed by this kid stumbling his way out and trying to get out of there and just petrified. So the thing that really gets me about the situation, it's funny that this kid, he obviously wasn't trying to provoke Brock. He'd seen this amazing Brock Lesnar. He just wanted to be near him and just absorb his aura or whatever it was. And to the point where he'd followed him into the bathroom, which is weird, but the kid's, he's a young, wide-eyed kid. But the thing that really makes me laugh is that Brock said, and I quote, "Are you trying to see my penis?" He didn't say dick. It's like he got it all polite at the end. It just seemed so bizarre. Then that was my takeaway from that. And that became a quote for a while in the WWE locker room behind the scenes. "Are you trying to see my penis?" There's no kids in here, are there, Kenny? I should have checked that before, actually. But sorry if you're offended by swearing.
They need to find out sooner or later.
There we go. So that was probably my favorite Brock story.
Never going to look at Brock the same way again.
I'm certainly never going to look at him in the bathroom anyway.
I remember it was WrestleMania 29, I think it was, where you went against themiz for the Intercontinental Championship on the pre-show. And I always remember Dave Meltzer had this great line where he was talking about, themiz had won the title and he was holding the belt up and it was raining, and he said that was God crying because themiz had won the Intercontinental Championship. But you were quite synonymous with that belt. You got the IC belt a fair bit. You're going at WrestleMania. It's on the pre-show, but this is the first pre-show where it's being heavily promoted. It's not like, this will be a DVD extra in 3 months. This is going to be on YouTube. They're doing a lot with it. Did it feel to you guys like, we are part of WrestleMania, or are you internally going, on the pre-show? Like, how did you guys feel about it?
Yeah, there was an inevitable disappointment. Obviously, the fact that I was Intercontinental Champion at the time, I kind of felt this title should be defended on the show. Miz, I think the previous year had main evented WrestleMania. I think it was the year before that when he'd wrestled Cena in the main event with Rock as the referee. So he certainly felt that he should have at least been on the WrestleMania card. So I remember Triple H pulled us into his office and said, hey, listen, guys, we just don't have enough time on the card, and we had to cut somebody, and unfortunately it's you guys. In my opinion, you both deserve to be on the card. We're going to pay you like you're on the card, but we have to put you on the pre-show. But the bright side is that it's going to be aired live on YouTube, and this was pre-network, so they were going to put it on YouTube, and the whole point of our match was that we were going to give them this amazing match that was going to hook anyone who hadn't paid for WrestleMania at that point. That was supposed to be the hook that they say, wow, that match was so amazing, I'm going to book WrestleMania right now because I need to see more wrestling. So that was the plan, and that was kind of, okay, that's cool, that's kind of a pat on the back for us. And this was the first time they'd made a big production of the pre-show. So they're saying, look, even though you guys aren't on the main show, believe it or not, more people are going to get to watch your match than WrestleMania because it's on free, and this is a huge thing for the company. So we came out of there feeling good. It really motivated us. We were like, you know what, I wish it was on the main show, but I'm glad the company looks at us in that capacity, that we're the ones that will pull in all these extra viewers for them, which obviously was total nonsense, but we were buying what he was selling at the time because we probably wanted to hear something nice. So anyway, the day before WrestleMania, we don't normally rehearse matches in wrestling unless it's something like a Money in the Bank ladder match, which is such a stunt-based match that you have to come up with weird spots. And okay, if I put this ladder here and 20 minutes later in the match it's still there, you'll fall through it on that spot that we're going to set up later on. But WrestleMania is something that we rehearse matches. It's always been that way because it's the biggest show of the year, and that's why you get such generally intricate and strange spots of WrestleMania you don't see anywhere else, because there's so much more put into it. So anyway, they want us to go rehearse this match, and we got our agent, who I think was Jamie Noble at the time, and he pulls us to one side and says, hey, listen, guys, we've got a 1 hour pre-show. The last 20 minutes is going to be dedicated to your match. It's going to be you two for the Intercontinental title. We want you to put an absolute barn burner on. It's going to be this amazing match. We're going to pull out all the stops, get everyone hooked in, and at the end, Miz goes over and wins the Intercontinental Championship. They get one of those happy endings again. Prior to WrestleMania starting, man, they really killed me in my career, those happy endings, right? And then, so we're going to have 20 minutes. So we put together this match. It was me against Miz. He's pulling out all his best moves. I'm pulling out mine. I'm pulling out some new stuff. He's got some new stuff. Jamie Noble's throwing out all these ideas. And by the end of this meeting, we kind of had this match laid out that we're like, wow, this is going to be big. It's the first match of the night. We've got a crowd of 85,000 people, and they've never seen wrestling all night. And this is the first thing they'll see. They're going to be going insane for this. So we've got 20 minutes, which is huge. 20 minutes is a long time. So we're feeling pretty excited. The day of WrestleMania, we get to the building, or the stadium, and they tell us, sorry, guys, you've just been knocked down. It's now going to have to be 15 minutes. We've got to shorten the match. We've got too much talking that's going to be happening. We've got some video packages. You guys are down to 15 minutes. I'm sorry. So we're like, damn. You know what? 15 minutes is okay. We can still have a good match. It'll be fine. No problem. We'll just take that bit out and take that bit out, shorten that up. Cool. We can make it work. It's still going to be good. 10 minutes before the match, Jamie Noble comes up to me and says, some of the talking went long. We're down to 12 minutes now. So, oh man, 12 minutes. This is going to be rushed. Like, we're going to have to take so much out here, Jamie. Go and have a word with Vince. No, the decision's been made. We have to go to 12 minutes. So now we're getting pretty upset because 12 minutes is, on Raw, that's a fairly long match, but we thought we were going to have this amazing title change, and we wanted to make history. So anyway, we go up to Gorilla, and Miz makes his entrance. As Miz walks through the curtain, I get the message, you guys are down to 8 minutes now. I was like, well, 8 minutes? I'm not even in the ring yet. And that's a long entrance. And Miz has just started off, and he's doing his usual flappy thing or whatever he does. And are you kidding me? 8 minutes? So Miz gets in the ring. Eventually my music hits, and I'm kind of power walking to the ring at this point. And I'm like, well, there's like 85,000 people there. I don't care. I'm running out of time. Like, I'm not enjoying this at all. I slide in. The referee comes over. You guys got 3 minutes. Go to the finish immediately. 3 minutes and I'm losing my title, and this is we've got a whole hour for one match, and we've got 3 minutes, and then we were straight into it, bang, 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 kick out, something else, there's the finish. And that was it. That was our 3-minute WrestleMania classic, which really got distilled down from the original 20. So that's how wrestling happens. And that's the most extreme that I've ever had, but a standard match on Raw, they would come to you and say, okay, you guys have got 2 segments. It's going to be 8 minutes in the first one and 7 minutes in the second. By the time you're ready to go out, it's 5 and 5. And that was just almost every single week that those time changes would happen like that. So that's just how wrestling works. It would never seem to go the other way, though. It always seemed to be backwards. So